Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today started training in the martial arts when he was only 4 years old and earned his black belt in the Jhoon Rhee system this past summer. But martial arts isn't something he's known for by most people. He first gained prominence from a YouTube series where he reviewed musical theater productions. This led to the attention of the theater industry, and he even served as a correspondent for Perez Hilton at the Tony Awards. In 2017, he appeared in an episode of Law & Order SVU. He was in the TV series Big Little Lies. He was the voice of Young Shaggy in Scoob and the voice of Chase in Paw Patrol, the movie. But most people will recognize him from his starring role in the hit CBS series and one of my favorite shows, Young Sheldon. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Iain Armitage. How are you doing today, sir?
Hello there, sir. So nice to meet you. Well, I guess virtually.
Yes. Well, I so appreciate, like I said, I'm a huge fan of the show, and I honestly had no idea you were involved in martial arts until I interviewed Mr. Pineda, and he mentioned that. He's like, Iain was helping teach class night, and I'm like, is that someone I should know? And then he told me, I'm like, really? He's a black belt? So I'm like, I have to interview him. That'd be so much fun. So I'm so glad you're taking the time to do this.
Of course. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, what I like to do with all my guests, I know you started when you were 4, but I'm just wondering, first of all, was it your choice or your parents? And how much do you remember about that when you first got going, and what kind of led to you getting involved in martial arts?
My mom had heard about junior taekwondo from, I think, a friend. I'm not actually sure where she heard it. But we've always had a rule in our family that to try new things and to do like one physical activity, one very like mental activity, and one like kind of extracurricular thing, always to have something that you're doing to better you, mind, body. So we started doing, I was in Knee-High Ninjas. Yeah, we started doing taekwondo, and I went in on the first day, and I was like, it was such I've always been homeschooled, so being in like a big class with a bunch of kids was kind of a foreign concept to me, even at like 4. So
Right.
Getting there, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And, we started doing class, and of course I thought I was so cool doing my, but obviously it was like very, very basic stuff. But I had the best time ever, and I told my mom after class that I really, really wanted to continue. And we did, and I haven't stopped since.
Very cool. Nice. So what are some things you remember just about that first instructor, Mr. Pineda? What are some things that stand out? You've been homeschooled, so you don't have a lot to compare him to as far as teachers and stuff, but just what are some things that stood out that really kind of drew you in with Mr. Pineda as an instructor?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think really everything. He is, first of all, I think that so many people have such a kind of deeply ingrained image of what a black belt is in their head. And I think a lot of it's from like karate movies or like, just imagining it being like, I am your sensei and I will teach you, and we're going to do this training montage where you'll wax my car. He is just so kind of, I think down to earth isn't even the right word, but like, he's just so confident and calm, and the kind of person who would literally never mention he's in martial arts or a black belt or anything extraordinary. Like, I mean, he's insane. He's like an absolute beast. He's super powerful. He trained under Grandmaster Rhee. He's amazing and super cool. And he's just so humble about it. And I think that's just one thing that struck both me and my mom, even so early. We're just like, this guy is so kind and humble, and always would really put everybody else ahead of him. He's just like the kind of person you meet and you're instantly like, I love this guy. I want to like, I just really wanted to continue training with him and the whole studio, because every instructor there, Master Shackelford, Master Rome, Master Hawk, all the other black belts, all the other teachers are so kind and so wonderful. So when I got the opportunity to help with classes, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this.
Nice. See, and I love that you mentioned humble, because that's like my current Taekwondo instructor that I've been with since 1994. That's one of the first things I noticed about him when we were like out in public and someone introduced himself to him, he never introduced himself as a martial artist. He was always, I'm an artist, or I'm a stay-at-home dad or something. He never mentioned martial arts unless someone else brought it up. And I love that humbleness, which is unfortunately rare in a lot of martial artists that I've met over my 38 years in martial arts. A little longer than you, but the humbleness is so important, and I love that you found an instructor that embodies that.
Yes, sir. And I think the humbleness also just shows that he's so confident in himself that he doesn't feel the need to ever, say, oh, and by the way, I'm a black belt and do this and this and this, and I co-run an entire studio. Like, he's just, it's incredible.
So at any time then, did you ever get involved in the competition side of martial arts?
Oh my gosh. I did. Oh, that's so funny. I did like 3 competitions when I was like 6.
Okay.
I remember I got gold. I got gold one time and I was very proud. But no, not as much, just because we've gotten so busy with acting. But
right.
I mean, my goal, at least for now, is once Young Sheldon ends, I'm probably gonna maybe not necessarily take a break from acting, but I definitely want to be in Virginia for a little while, spend some time at our studio, and then also possibly, get into more competing and be able to take black belt class more, spar more with actual human beings instead of just a bag.
Nice. So those 3 tournaments, do you remember, what did you compete in weapons? Did you compete in forms? Did you compete in sparring? What did you compete in at that young age?
Oh gosh, you really, really must think I'm some sort of martial arts prodigy. I was like a 6-year-old just standing in line with a bunch of other 6-year-olds doing like bopper sparring.
Okay.
We were like doing the foam boppers that we basically try to hit each other with like their swords, and then get graded by judges. No, we did like very basic forms and then some sparring, but definitely not anything fancy. And again, I think my first one I was like 5, and then I did one when I was like 5, and then I think 2 when I was 6. So very impressive.
You've done better than me. I've done 1 tournament my whole life. I was never into the competition. I did a tournament when I was either 18 or 19. I did sparring. I got hit with a backspin and my headgear flew off. And I remember my mom was watching in the audience, and I heard her gasp from across the gym because my headgear flew off.
Oh my gosh. Like the mom gasped.
Exactly. You know. That was my one and only tournament. And the thing is that one, my instructor forced me to do it. I never wanted to do it. I think if it would have been something I chose to, maybe I would have done it more. But I love training people for competition. I've just never enjoyed competing myself.
I get that.
Nice.
I feel that.
So how about the teaching aspect? I know when I first interviewed Master Renata, he had said you had been helping teach class that night. So when did you first start helping teach, and what kind of drew you to that side of it?
Well, I first started teaching when I became it really was mostly helping, because with red and brown belts, you're just really allowed to help with knee-high ninja classes. And then once you become a first brown, you get opened up a little bit more to be able to do higher level classes. And then once you become black belt, the higher you are tip-wise, you can teach higher levels and higher belt curriculum in class. But I think even just at red belt, they have like leadership workshops to kind of sort of teach how to teach, really. And it is just it was so fun to me. Like, it's so wonderful to be able to help little kids who I could literally see myself coming into class and seeing these black belts and having them, I literally remembered it from being a knee-high ninja. So being able to do that for somebody else was so cool in and of itself. And then also on top of that, it's just the kind of thing where you're so there and so present, sort of like, I think every real martial artist has experienced at one point sort of that point where you're like training so hard or doing something, and you kind of experience that like complete sort of, I don't even know, it sounds so cheesy, but like martial arts zen almost. You're like so in the zone. It sort of is one of those things where you're so present and so focused that it doesn't really allow your brain to think about anything else. So if you get like stressed easily about, I don't know, schoolwork, social life, anything, if you are coming to class and doing really intense class, or helping other people to do an intense class, or even not an intense class, or even just, a bunch of 4-year-olds learning how to do basic punches, it's so easy to get completely immersed in, and also so fun because you get to just be high energy, like kind of silly. You get to help people learn. And then also, I don't know, it's something about the black belt uniform, but every technique you do looks so much cleaner in a black belt uniform, just the way it snaps, because it's the heavier, I just love it.
That's cool. So do you, thinking back over your 10, 11 years, 10 years in martial arts, think about the hardest workout you ever had to do in class. What are some of the things you had to go through that were just, for example, I remember I did one time where our instructor was trying to teach us to count to 100 in Korean, and no one in class could get past 40. So we kept having us start over, but we were doing it as we were doing sit-ups. So we ended up doing 450 sit-ups that night in class. That's one of the hardest classes I've ever had to do.
That's amazing. Wow. I feel like actually probably since we're in California so much, I usually do classes over FaceTime with my instructor, Mr. Gann, or I call him Master Gann, but technically he's not a master, but I don't know. I feel like I've called him that for so long. I think it's sort of an honorary master, I suppose.
Nice.
He had this, we usually now we do different stuff just because I'm a black belt. We usually are training more in, we're doing more like leg stuff for the low stanzas. And then, I mean, this was more of a thing I can't even remember specifically. I feel like it was probably last year that we were doing this the most, but we would do ladders. So from 10 of each thing, 9 of each thing, 8 of each thing, all the way down to 1.
Yes.
But he would do, so it'd be like 10 jumping jacks, 10 push-ups, 10 squats, 10 leg lifts, 10 bend and reach or whatever, 9 of each. And it sounds kind of deceptively simple because you're just like, oh, it's just, 10 of, that's pretty easy. But first of all, it does add up. Second of all, it does get, because also you're not like taking breaks. So after a little while, you're like, okay, it's a little harder than I first supposed. And then also Master Pineda, a lot of us in black belt class joke about Master Pineda being so, he is definitely a tough instructor, but at the same time, he also is, well, first of all, he does this thing where he likes to tell like interesting stories about working with Grandmaster Jhoon Rhee or about, when he was a lower belt level. But it's funny because usually, so it's almost like a little break. You're like, oh, yes, a story. But he'll usually have us do something while he's doing that. So then it'll be like 5 minutes of us just sitting in low stances. And we're like, oh no, come on. But I think each instructor has sort of developed their own unique way of punishing their students. But no, I just love doing the class and doing all the exercises. So it's just it's more like kind of just interesting to see what they'll whip up, sort of.
Yeah. That's one thing I enjoyed when I used to help teach kids classes, is coming up with a way to disguise exercise as games. So the kids are having fun, not realizing, like we do this. My instructor does this thing we called roundhouse baseball, where he'd actually got the little square targets that we kick. He'd set them up as bases, and the kids would have to roundhouse a little like playground ball, and they'd have to either duck walk or crab walk around the bases. And everyone in the outfield everyone in the outfield had to be down in like duck walk stance. No one could stand up, and it was just so much fun. And by the time they'd done, of course, he does this with the adults every now and then. And the adults are, our legs are just burning for a week afterwards. But it's fun watching the kids do it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's fun.
And it's always the ones that sound the least like exercisey and painful that are the worst.
Yeah, well, with one exception, we also play full contact basketball with the adults. So that one is like it sounds. I mean, not quite as brutal, but it's fun. So
it's like, well, kids, today we're going to be playing full contact basketball.
There we go. All right, so think back to this past summer, your black belt test. Kind of walk us through that. What are some of the things you had to do for your black belt test, and what do you remember about that day?
Oh gosh, I feel like I've sort of blocked it all out. Well, for my first for the qualifier, because there's the qualifier and then there's the panel exam. And for the qualifier, I mean, like the first time we went in, I got like a genuine panic attack. They have us now do 50 push-ups in under, well, it used to be in under a minute, but I think people didn't do as well technique-wise, so now they have us do it in under 2 minutes.
Okay.
But they obviously expect like really good technique. So I just finished with that, and I started almost like kind of shivering, and I was like, it's so weird because I've been doing this with Master Gann in California. We do the 50 push-ups in under a minute, or sometimes like 100 in under 2 minutes all the time. So this shouldn't be hard. It's not that I'm like tired or that my arms are weak or anything. And I just sort of started getting like cold and feeling weird. And I went over and I sat down with my mom for a second. I was like, I'm feeling really weird. And we actually then rescheduled it because I got like I almost fainted. Wow. And it sounds so, it's kind of not exactly embarrassing, but I was like, that's not a great way to start off. But I came back and I did it again. And I think that kind of made it mean more to me because when I passed my qualifier, I was like, I know I really did it. And I know I actually overcame something to do it. It wasn't just like a breeze.
Nice.
And then, the qualifier is all the nitty gritty details and really getting into your technique and making sure that you have really good endurance and that you have really, your strength's up, your flexibility's up. And that's sort of, where they're going through each part of the curriculum, making you do each thing, making you really work for it. And then in addition to that, making you do a bunch of exercise, a bunch of cardio, making sure that you're really on top of all that. Then the panel exam is just so formal. And Master Rhee was there. It felt kind of surreal because during Exodus, which is like, I think it's 10% of our grade. I'm not actually sure.
Wow.
I was to the point where I sort of, because you do it at the end. So sort of like, I think I've passed. I think if I can get this perfect, I think I might pass. And I did it. And towards the very end where the music swells, I was just like, I think I did it. And after that, they had me do my speech, and then they went into another room and talked for a minute. And then, they came back out and they said that I passed. And it was so weird because for a second I didn't fully intake it, and I was also so tired. So I had this little, not quite inhaler, but little like breathing thing. And I went over and I did that, and I took a sip of water, and I just sort of was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I was like, wait, what? It sort of took my brain a moment to comprehend exactly what they were saying. But I was like, oh my gosh. And I just sort of started crying, and my grandpa was there. And
that's cool.
He's like such a cool and awesome person. I was so glad that he was there to see that. I was like, I'm so proud.
That's awesome. See, and that's just, I love hearing the stories because every system, every style, every school does it differently. Like me, we don't have the qualifier. It's our test is just the one day. And I think my black belt test was about 2.5 hours. Was my black belt test. Wow. It's pretty much my instructor. I mean, there's other black belts there helping, holding targets and stuff and whatnot, but it's my, we didn't do a panel or anything. It's just my instructor who's an 8th degree.
So wait, one question, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys do, was it like a lot of people taking the test with you?
It varies. So quick story on me. So I first tested for my black belt in 1996. I started martial arts in 84. I started in Tang Soo Do. Then in high school, I did Shotokan. I started Taekwondo in 92. I started with my current instructor in 94. I tested for my black belt in November of 96. It was the night before Thanksgiving. I remember it very well, actually. And at that time, There was only 2 of us testing. It was me and another lady. I actually didn't pass that day. And then I moved back to California, where I was living at the time. And when I moved back to Minnesota, life got in the way. I got married. We started having kids. Fast forward 10 years, and I finally went back and redid my black belt test in 2006. And at that time, it was me and 2 other people testing. And that time I passed. But I've also been to other black belt tests at our school where there's 7, 8 people testing, and I've seen them with just 1. It kind of depends. I was one when I first started, I never liked big crowds, so he always made my test a little smaller for me to make it a little more comfortable and stuff until I got over that and stuff. But,
gotcha.
We're Taekwondo, but it's a little different than Jhoon Rhee's Taekwondo. Our instructor,
yes, sir. Yeah.
My instructor's instructor is a 10th degree from Korea, Grandmaster Mu Young Yoon. And he teaches it the old school way that, my instructor teaches it the same way. We do the Palge patterns. We don't do the Taeguk patterns.
Wow.
But like I had to do, I'm trying to remember over my 2 tests, I probably had to do about 30 to 40 different sets of techniques, different things. I had to do all 9 of our patterns, or all 8 of our patterns, except when we do pattern for black belt tests, like we have our 8 Palge patterns, except he meshes them together. So my instructor will be like, all right, do the first 4 steps of Palge Ilchung. All right, stop. Now do steps 5 through 8 of Palge Samchung. Now do steps 9 through 12 of Palge Ichung. And it's like, you have to know these so well. And that's probably for me, that was the most nerve-wracking part, was the pattern and having to do those meshed up like that.
Oh, yeah, wow.
And then breaking, we do about 10 different breaks, and you don't know any of the breaks beforehand except one. He picks the breaks as you're doing your test.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's fun.
Wow.
It's a lot.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like you had a great time.
Yeah, it was
for me.
It was different.
For me, it was sort of the opposite. I was always, I do classes one-on-one with Master Gan, but usually it's not testing for my black belt. But I actually kind of like doing class with a lot of other students, just because it's so like, it's. I feel like it's better to work together with those types of classes because you're learning sort of the new things at the same time.
Yes.
And you can sort of help each other. And then, of course, it's also, just in my opinion, at least, more fun to do it with friends. But Master Shackelford was actually joking with me a little while ago about the phrase "misery loves company." It's actually misery loves miserable company, and
Nice.
having a whole class of fellow black belts being tortured makes it a lot more manageable.
There we
But
go.
during my test, it was just me. So for the qualifier, it was a panel of 4 black belts. So it was Master Pineda, Master Shackelford, Master Hawk, and Master Rome. And that was just for the qualifier, and it was just me. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
I was even the second time actually the first qualifier I didn't actually really fully do it because we ended up actually going to the doctor because mom thought I might be like sick or something. Then also usually you have like 2 or 3 weeks turnaround time between the qualifier and the panel exam. I had 2 days.
Wow.
So it was basically just 2 days filled with me stressing about the panel exam and also just working out nonstop. So I would go to bed at night so sore, and on the day before the test, I was like, okay, I have to rest because I'm gonna go in too tired to do the test.
Wow.
And then when I actually passed it, I was like, oh my gosh! And I called Master Gan and I told him, and I think the coolest part for me was, I mean, aside from actually passing it and having all the instructors there, was probably that my granddad was there because I look up to him so much. I was like, yes, he got to see me get my black belt.
That's cool. Yeah, my mom and dad actually got to come to mine, which was kind of cool because they didn't get to come to
awesome.
They didn't come the first time in '96, but they were there in 2006. So they actually got to see me break my brick with my head, which I did not do in '96. So I was kind of happy about that. But
that's awesome.
So how do you think your martial arts training has helped with your acting career?
Oh God, it's not only helped with my acting career. I owe who I am completely to martial arts. I mean, I have some pretty awesome. My mom is incredible, and my family is incredible, and I feel like they're a lot of who I am. But martial arts, the lessons I've learned from it, the lessons it's taught me, the manners, the formality, the also even just the kindness, being able to. There was this little girl that I was helping in a class a little while ago, and it was, I think, one of her first or second classes, and she came out crying because she was so kind of scared, and it was I think it was a Ninja class, and I just remember her dad comforting her, and I just came over and I was like, you did really well, that was really good. And then a little while ago I saw her in another class, and I was like, oh, that's nice. I love that. I love that she was able to continue. That sort of just being such a community for each other, even when things are hard or even when you're having a hard time, and even just, joking around with your friends after class is such a wonderful kind of thing to have, such a wonderful sort of net to have. And coming back here and being able to see everybody is so awesome all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly just the politeness and the respect for other people that is such a big thing that martial arts has helped me with. I think if everybody had that respect for each other, if ever, world leader and, high important person, and even just in every day, if we had that kind of respect for each other, I think things would be a lot better in this world.
And I've said that so many times. I think everyone in the world needs to try martial arts for 6 months to a year at some point in their life. And I wish they would. So
it's great because I think a lot of people have that sort of idea beforehand of it just being all these really, 6 foot tall, really muscly guys who are punching each other and going yeah, nice job, I'm a black belt. And it is so the opposite of that I think my grandma a little while ago came to one of a class that I was helping at. And she saw me helping. She was like, you're just like that with your little cousins, like how you are in class. Because I have a bunch of little cousins and they're all 8 years old right now.
Nice.
And I was like, I mean, yeah, they help each other, I guess.
I mean, I'm kind of the same. It changed my life. I used to be deathly stage fright. I would not talk in front of people. I actually almost failed a high school speech class. And the whole reason I got over that was because my instructor pretty much pushed me into teaching class and helping with class. I was a purple belt and he gave me my own class. So, wow. Yeah. And
that's fun.
And everyone in class was a higher rank than me. And he's just like, if they don't listen, give them push-ups. I'm leaving. And he had that much confidence in me, and it helped. I mean, it changed me a lot. So I definitely get that. It's so important, and it's such an important part of my life. And I'm so glad you're getting that same stuff out of it.
Yes, sir. And I think it's funny because I also tend to overthink a lot. So it's just so funny when you get plunged in one of those situations where it's well, you teach class now, I'm leaving. I mean, that doesn't necessarily happen with us as much. It's more right. You take this half of the class or whatever, or you kind of mirror what I'm doing for these kids on the other side that can't see or whatever. But it's so kind of when you do get kind of trusted to do something, and I remember just being able to kind of do something like that, or even just to lead a line for line drills. Knowing that the instructor's teaching the class has confidence in you to be able to do something like that, even if it's really small or insignificant, is just so you're like, wow, I can do that. And it makes you feel so good and confident about yourself. And I think that's also another reason it's so important for people to do it, kind of that confidence that it gives you.
Nice. So do you hope to someday, or would you ever want to feature your martial arts abilities on screen?
Oh my gosh, so much more than you can know.
Yeah.
I want to so much. I would love to do, I wouldn't want it to be something like cheesy, but I would love to do like a martial arts film or TV show or even like an action movie, but I think it would be so much fun. I would love that.
That's cool. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I would love to see that. Iain Armitage, action star.
Enter the Sheldon.
Hey, there we go. Nice.
Yes, sir.
The final episode of Young Sheldon, you bust out some taekwondo and
that would be amazing.
That'd be cool. I'm curious now, I realize you're young, so maybe not, but have you ever watched or had any interest in like the Ultimate Fighting Championship or UFC or something like that? Is that something you've ever watched or a fan of?
I mean, sort of, but mostly just because of, I'm not a big fan of, like, for example, football or soccer or anything.
Right.
I'm not the most sporty person unless
Okay.
it comes to like martial arts.
Yep.
But I know a lot about football and soccer and stuff like that just from kind of pop culture. I think it's sort of more like that. Like I am aware of its presence, but I don't really watch it that much. And also I just kind of find it to be like, even the fights that are real and that aren't like faked or something are still kind of just, I'd much rather see my instructors teaching students to spar or my fellow black belt sparring than kind of something I mean, I think it's really awesome that they're able to do what they do, and very impressive. They are, really physical and awesome people, but I just think it's not quite, I don't know. I find martial arts to be a bit more challenging to be able to do well, and also helps you so much more with life skills and with, respect. And I feel like just that type of fighting, I feel like doesn't have that as much.
Hey, that's a great answer. I like that. How about Taekwondo in the Olympics? You ever watch that?
Oh, yes, sir, I do. And I find I think that's like one of my favorite events.
Really?
I think.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Although, I also love ice skating and I love the swimming and the high dives. But yeah, I just think, I mean, if doing a qualifier for my black belt can make me as nerve-wracked as it did, then I can't even imagine how people are able to do that. But again, it's that confidence that you get from martial arts that allows you to do incredible things like that.
Yeah, the only thing I'm not a fan of with Olympic Taekwondo is that they don't punch. Like our style of Taekwondo, we're 50% hands, 50% feet. And they literally, their hands are hanging down and all they do is kick. That bothers me a lot. Because I'd be like,
I can understand that. Yes,
punch him. He's wide open. Punch him.
Like, use your hands.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Nice.
I do understand that. Okay. I'll give you that point. But yes, sir.
Cool.
That makes sense.
Who are some names, 2, 3, 4 names that you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts?
See, this is going to sound really, really biased because there's some of most of them would just be my instructors just because they're such incredible martial artists. And again, I also have really done Jhoon Rhee Taekwondo my whole life. So I don't actually, I haven't done any other type of martial arts, and I don't really have any. I mean, I would love to definitely do some different types, just sort of for a frame of reference. But I love Jhoon Rhee and the Jhoon Rhee style so much that I would love to continue doing that my whole life. But I would say Master Pineda, Master Shackelford, Master Ohm, Master Hawk would definitely be on my Mount Rushmore. But if you're saying more sort of widely,
it's your personal. So a lot of my guests have picked their own instructors. Nothing wrong with that.
Yes, sir. I would say more widely, probably Bruce Lee.
Nice.
Grandmaster Rhee. Gosh, Bruce Lee, Grandmaster Rhee, and then again maybe Master Pineda and maybe Master Shackelford. I feel like they're such. They're people who have influenced not only my life, but so many incredible students and people who have gone on to, like, a lot of people in government even have been taught, kind of the Jhoon Rhee style. I read a whole thing a little while ago about there were, some different Congress people who were black belts. Like, it's incredible how much it can teach and how much, not even just the physical aspect. Again, it's that emotional and being compassionate, being invested in other people, being respectful of other people. That's so helpful about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jhoon Rhee had a whole class on Capitol Hill, which is just amazes me that he did that for so long. Now,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Did you ever get to train with Jhoon Rhee?
No, sir, not
Okay.
actually with Grandmaster Rhee, but I did get to meet him one time at
That's
an
cool.
event, and it was like he was actually in a wheelchair at the time, and it was one of those. It was so kind of surreal because even though he was sitting in a wheelchair and he looked kind of like he looked a little bit older, he was so you could just feel that kind of confidence and power, just like vibrating out of him. Like it was just like you could tell he was the kind of person you would never ever want to be on the opposite side of
Right.
in any type of fight. And also at the same time, he was so kind and so I believe we actually still have a picture of me with him somewhere, but
That's cool.
he was just like such a kind and gentle and sweet man, but at the same time, just like Master Pineda, so confident and so powerful that you're just like, wow, that's it's a real, I mean, motivator. Really, it's that's one of the reasons that I've stuck with martial arts for so long. I mean, of course, there's like, oh, gotta get to black belt, gotta get to black belt gold, but I mean, now I'm a black belt, and I'm not stopping. There's no, I wouldn't want to stop until I continue and continue because it's so it's just a real motivator, I think.
Nice. So I know something that's really important to Jhoon Rhee and the Jhoon Rhee system, philosophy, that's talked about a lot. So can you think of
yes, sir.
one, maybe two philosophies that you've learned over your 10 years in martial arts that are really important and maybe they just rise to the top of your list?
Well, it's so funny because this isn't even really a philosophy. This is more of just a thing that Master Gian says to me when I'm being sloppy. But he always says, "Fast is smooth, smooth is fast." Which again, that doesn't count. I'm just saying it's so funny because it came to my head.
Actually,
first.
Mr. Pineda gave the same answer, I think. So.
Wait, really?
I know at least one of my guests gave that answer. I'm guessing it might have been him or it might have been Carmichael Simon. I don't remember.
That's so. Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't even know that. Okay, well, hey, I mean, I'll take it. But it's so funny because Master Gan will always, if I'm kind of lacking in like a form or anything, he'll just go, "Hey, Ian, fast is smooth, smooth is fast." And it kind of is when you think about it, makes so much sense because it's just like. It's sort of the don't think, just do sort of aspect of it that I love because they're just, it's just like, don't be preoccupied with making sure that you get every single fold, punch, chop, just be fast and be smooth. And it's so like, okay, I'll be fast, I'll be smooth. I think actually real like philosophy wise, not just do your form better, Ian. I would say probably, and this isn't even so much as a phrase, it's just an overall thing that it's sort of taught, not just me, but so many people who've taken junior taekwondo, is just respect for everyone. And not just, I think if you can if you can talk to the president of the United States and a homeless man in New York the exact same way, then you're really embracing that philosophy. And I think not enough people are able to treat every person with like the dignity and kindness they deserve. And again, I think it's one of those things that if everybody could do that, the world would be so much better. But I think treating everybody with the respect they deserve, and even people who are, not nice to you and kind of annoying and jerky, because everybody has something to teach you, whether it's cautionary, like don't be like this person, or it's a genuine, like how Master Pineda teaches. Right. It's just everyone has something to offer and everybody deserves to be respected. And then I think also just sort of confidence, like just in general, I'm confident in my abilities. I'm confident in your abilities, and I'm confident that we can. I think it's just sort of approaching every situation calm and confident, and it's something that's been displayed by I think all of our instructors. It's so impressive.
Nice. I love that answer. Great answer. All right, got a few fun questions to wrap it up. I know one thing Master Pineda mentioned that he really encourages his students, I think specifically over the summer, he said, to read books. So I'm just curious if you have a favorite martial arts book.
Oh, that's a good one. Wait 1 second. I'm going to actually bring you with me because I believe I have it upstairs. One moment.
No problem.
But yeah, I would say in terms of martial arts books, there are a couple that are actually, they have at the studio where they used to give them out as part of the curriculum.
Oh, cool.
When you become a black belt. But I don't believe they give them out as much anymore. I think actually a little while ago, Master Pineda, I believe, said to me that I could not necessarily, maybe borrow one and look at it if I wanted to, which I was like, oh my gosh, yes, of course. But I'm trying to find, I have a really cool book about I believe it's called Bruce Lee and Me.
Bruce Lee and I
About
by Jhoon Rhee.
Bruce Lee and I, yes sir.
Yes.
Not me messing up my grammar.
Master Pineda
yes,
actually sent me a copy. So
yes sir. But
nice.
it's oh my gosh, I haven't looked at it in a little while. I have to right after this interview. But yeah, I would say probably that, because it's just such a fascinating story. And also, again, just the involvement you see between Grandmaster Rhee and Mr. Bruce Lee is just so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually had the honor. I've interviewed about 3 people who knew Bruce Lee, so I've been very, very lucky to hear some. If you like to listen to some of those interviews, go back and listen to Tom Bleecker. I think it was my first interview, and then James DeMille was actually an original student of Bruce Lee in the 50s in Seattle, way back when.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there's some really good interviews and some good Bruce Lee stories there. So
yes, sir.
How about a favorite martial arts video game? You're 14. I'm assuming you played a video game or two.
Yes, sir. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of like martial arts video games that I play. I feel like there's not enough good ones nowadays. I'm trying to think.
You ever play any of the old school ones like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter? Or?
I've done, well, actually, yes, you're right. We have an arcade that I went to a little while ago.
Nice.
And there's I believe it was like a Street Fighter type game. And it was very like sort of 80s style, like, nice. The kicks, it's sort of, I don't even know how to describe the kick. It was like, the kicks were like universal kick almost. And, just like the ha. It was just like such an awesome, like the graphics were so wonderfully done. And it was definitely not what I would describe as being real martial arts necessarily, but it was awesome. But I'm trying to think, there's not enough that I play and on an everyday basis, like on a PC or something. I'm going to have to try to find some good ones and get back to you about that.
I probably haven't played a martial arts video game since before you were born, unfortunately. I used to play video games a lot when I was younger, but I haven't played one in a long time. I probably like Wii Bowling or something like that is the last video game I played. So
that's awesome. Oh my gosh.
Cool. How about a favorite martial arts TV show? I know your mom mentioned you didn't watch a lot of TV and movies, but do you ever watch any martial arts TV shows?
Gosh, I'm trying to think what the last like martial arts real TV show or movies. I feel like it was probably a documentary as opposed to like a real action movie. But again, that's one of those things I have to do more of. I actually don't watch that much TV though, or there are that many movies, which is kind of ironic for somebody who fancies themselves an actor.
You ever watch Cobra Kai?
No, not yet, sir.
Okay,
I have to. I'm so sorry. I put my entire studio to great shame. But although actually, funny enough, recently I did watch on YouTube. They took a bot, like a computer program, and subjected it to the entire. I say subjected. They made it watch the entire Cobra Kai sort of series, and then had the bot write its own episode of Cobra Kai.
Really,
it was very funny. But I haven't actually seen the series yet. No, sir.
Okay.
I have to.
And how about a martial arts movie? Have you ever watched any martial arts movies that you remember that were decent? Or I mean, you referenced the Karate Kid a little bit.
Yes, sir. I have seen the Karate Kid.
Okay.
And I've seen, again, it's mostly because I don't watch that many movies, and I feel like when I did, I was much younger. I would say probably Karate Kid, because it's sort of also was one of the movies that kicked off the martial arts movement in America, where it was, sign your kids up for Taekwondo, karate, martial arts, Yep. And, Grandmaster Rhee, I believe his first studio, he advertised it more as like karate, which was kind of a genius move, because that was what people were familiar with from Karate Kid.
Yep. Yeah. Back then it was, even like our instructor, my instructor's instructor opened his first Taekwondo school, I think in 72 or 73, but it was advertised as Korean karate because no one knew what Taekwondo was.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that's kind of funny. And Karate Kid's my answer too, because literally that's the reason I started. I went to the opening of Karate Kid in June of 1984. And when we came out of the movie, a local Tung Sudo school was handing out free passes.
That's amazing.
Exactly.
That's like perfect. That's prime real estate right there. Yep. That's awesome.
Yep. So,
and also, again, it's just one of those things that there's some things you'll watch or see that just so motivate you. And I mean, I'll even have it. I'll be watching like a movie with my friend, and it'll have like an awesome fight scene. I'll be like, I want to do some sparring right now.
Nice.
It just sort of like instantly motivates you. And I guess that's just sort of part of our human nature. Just, cool fight scene. Me want to fight.
Nice. So let's say one of your friends contacted you that didn't live anywhere near Arlington. They were nowhere near a Jhoon Rhee school, and they just said, hey, I'm thinking of getting involved in martial arts. What should I look for in a school? What are one or two tips you'd give them? Just something really important to look for in a school.
Oh gosh. I mean, I think Master Pineda's answer that he gave you is pretty perfect, but
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a good one. Well, first of all, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with this would probably just not be really an option because you said not Jhoon Rhee. But Master Gan, my instructor who teaches me when I'm not in Virginia, is probably an awesome choice. But if you were saying like a full-on studio, I would say if there's any, I think, well, I mean, I'm honestly just at this point basically pulling things from what Master Pineda said. But again, the size of the black belt class, what are you saying about that? Because it really does indicate how many black belts are staying on after they earn it. And it's not just like, oh, I earned this. This is the final step for me. And Master Pineda makes a big point that when you get your black belt, it really is a first step. But as he said at my qualifier, it's a first step, but it's a doozy. It's not, you're not just getting it, that's the end of the road, you're a black belt,
right? Bam,
ready to live out your 80s Karate Kid fantasy. You still continue with your training. You still, you go on to second degree, you go on to third degree, you keep earning tips. And I think that's the kind of attitude that you want to look for in a school, that this isn't just Larry's discount karate. This is this is real martial arts studio. And then I would also probably say just kind of, if the instructor that of the studio, I mean, this is more just kind of a moral compass thing, but like if the instructor of the studio is as kind and as welcoming as they can be to every new student, and especially younger students, because I feel like, I mean, our instructors have it down to an art, really, with younger students and with making people feel at home. And even, we also do so many different programs that are so, welcoming for younger kids. They have like Taekwondo birthday parties. I'm not sure if they're still doing those after COVID, but they have birthday parties. You could have like functions there. You could do like just all kinds of kind of cool, exciting things at Taekwondo. And it's such a, I remember a class I helped out with a little while ago. This little girl got her like knee-high ninja black belt, and it was, I mean, she got, you get called up to the front of class, you do some techniques from knee-high ninja, and then they give you the belt. And I was like, oh my God, I wish my black belt test went like that. But at the end, she came to the door and she was bowing out, and I just was like, good job, you did really awesome. That was so cool. And she just like beamed, and I was like, she was just like smiling so. She was like so proud of herself and so happy. She was like, thank you, sir. And I feel like if you can see the helpers at the studio, the teachers at the studio being kind and supportive to the kids, and the kids really responding well and really being proud and happy with themselves, not just like, oh, I want to get my black belt, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, even with the older students there, if you can see that, that's probably the best indication of a really good studio. That's
a great answer. All right. I know we're a little short on time. You got to go. And I have one final question that's not a martial arts question. And I don't know if your mom mentioned, but I have 3 kids, and they're all theater kids. My oldest lives in Arlington right now, not doing theater. I have a 19-year-old going to the University of Utah in Salt Lake City for acting in theater. And then I have a sophomore, my daughter, who just did her first high school musical this fall. So I'm just curious.
That's amazing.
What's your favorite Broadway musical?
You're a terrible, terrible person. You're a terrible, horrible
And I have been going back and watching your reviews. So adorable.
Oh gosh, that's so cringy. Hello, my name is Ian, and tonight my favorite moment ever in a theater was this very, very, I can only describe her as classic, just a classic theater goer. This sort of older lady came up to me and she said, now, I love your theater reviews, but one thing, you always say tonight I saw, and that's not actually grammatically correct. It's tonight I have seen. And I was like, thank you, ma'am. She was just like so nice. Okay, you were a really terrible person for asking me that. And I almost got through the whole interview with saying that you were like one of my favorite interviewers ever. I would say, and again, this fluctuates constantly because there is no one answer. I would say, as of like literally right this second of you asking me, possibly Phantom of the Opera, just because I've been thinking about it so much with it, being such a tycoon that's closing after such a long time.
Okay.
And then play-wise, right now, again, changed all the time, probably either Leopoldstadt or Jerusalem with Mark Rylance.
Very cool.
Just because they're both so powerful and awesome.
Nice.
But again, Cruel man, terrible question. Do not approve.
It's all good. Like I said, I was never into theater when I was young, and we got lucky. My kids ended up getting involved in theater. My oldest son in second grade, we had an elementary school that had a theater program, and he did 101 Dalmatians as a second grader and was hooked ever since then. So it was,
and
yeah, so cool.
The funny thing about theater and martial arts, they really do go hand in hand. I mean, yep. I've never. My friend actually, I was saying, I was talking about this interview to my friend recently. I was saying, I don't even know if I consider myself a martial artist of caliber high enough to be on this, because it was like, you're doing interviews with people like Master Pineda, and I'm like, hi, I'm Ian. But my friend was like, are you like nervous? And I was like, I don't really get nervous. And I was thinking about that recently, because it's weird. A lot of people talk about stage fright. And I mean, if it's something like my black belt test, of course I'll be nervous. But like for acting or for being on stage or for doing an interview, I don't really get nervous. And I was thinking, why is that? And the two main things I could think of were, well, mainly martial arts from a young age, and also musical theater. I mean, my whole life I've been around, and also sort of the idea that, like Master Gian was saying to me a little while ago about, I was doing a form and I messed up something small. I was like, dang it, and I restarted. And he was like, why'd you restart? And I was like, I messed up a move there. And he was like, that's fine. No one, I mean, if you do that, if you're in class and you do that, every instructor will see that. They're like heat seeking. It's like heat, they can see every little thing. But what if you restart it, you're making another mistake. So if you just make a small mistake in your form, continue doing it, and do the rest of the form really well, it's 10 times better than restarting saying, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yep.
And I think just kind of that attitude of, I am probably going to make a mistake with my wording, or, kind of stutter a little bit, or even if I was in a musical theater show, I might mess up a cue or a line, or if I'm in my form, I might mess up that fold, or not hit that kick quite right, or, stuff like that. You're like, okay, I am gonna mess up, and I'm kind of fine with that. I don't really care. And it sort of is just, since I've sort of always had that sort of mindset because of martial arts and theater, when I do mess up, it's like, okay, I messed up. Too bad.
Nice. Well, Ian, I want to thank you. This has been so much fun. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Young Sheldon. I never miss an episode. I watch it every Thursday night. Just such a great show.
You're too kind. Oh my gosh.
This has been a complete honor to have you on here. And I'm hoping, who knows, maybe when you get your master, when you get your fourth degree, come back and do the show again, and we'll talk about your continued journey or something like that. But just continued success. And I just so appreciate your time, and I can't wait till the episode comes out.
Thank you so much, sir. You too. And I'm absolutely honored to be here, because you've had some insanely cool and wonderful martial artists on here. And I'm like, Ian here. So thank you so much.
Well, and you do have the record now of being my youngest ever guest, previously held by 16-year-old Samantha Mittling. So now you have the new you're the new record holder. So
the problem is I can never regain that. If somebody younger comes on, I can't like re-young myself just to go.
That is true.
I hope. Well, actually, have you heard of Yusei? They call him Little Bruce Lee. He is incredible.
Really?
You have to look this kid up on YouTube. I met him a little while ago on Little Big Shots, a show that, like, I think it was Steve Harvey used to host.
Yes.
And he is incredible. I think I'm not sure exactly how old he is now. He's probably, I think when we met him, he was like 5, I think.
Okay.
So now he's probably like 9 or maybe 10. But he is the most incredible and like just talented young martial artist I think I've ever seen. And he's like amazing. He has like full 6-pack abs, and I'm over here eating my like donut, just like, yeah. Yep. I mean, I could have full 6-pack abs too if I wanted to, but he's like amazing.
He does look familiar. I just googled him. I think I have seen some videos of him before, but I'll have to maybe look into that.
But yeah, he's incredible though, and he's so funny, so awesome. Yeah,
that's cool. Well, just thank you again. Seriously, I so appreciate it, and enjoy your trip to London. So
thank you so much, sir, and you're incredible. I cannot wait to hopefully meet you in person sometime, or see you again at the very least. But yeah, you're amazing. And also, if Master Pineda comes back, tell him I say hi.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.